Okay, so let's talk about what might just be the largest merger in history. It happened on February 2nd, 2026, and it created this colossus that fuses rockets, satellites, and artificial intelligence all under one roof. We've got a lot to unpack here, so let's just dive right in. So, get this. The deal created a new company valued at a staggering $1.25 trillion. I mean, to put that into perspective, that is bigger than the GDP of most countries on Earth. So yeah, this isn't just another merger, this is the birth of a whole new kind of corporate beast.
But what is this thing really? Is it, the birth of some vertically integrated AI superpower that's just going to dominate the next century? Or is it something else? Could it be the world's most expensive bailout, just dressed up to look like a brilliant corporate strategy? That's really the big question we're going to try and tackle today.
All right, let's get into Section 1, a trillion-dollar gamble. We've got to start with the basic facts of this historic deal. How did this even come together in the first place?
Okay, so what's really fascinating here is the massive contrast. On one side, you have the deal itself, an all-stock triangular merger. But the real story is on the other side. You have xAI's huge problem. They were burning through $1 billion a month. That is just an insane amount of cash. And then you have SpaceX, which was swimming in money, super profitable, pulling in $8 billion in profit. So here's the key takeaway. While Musk was out there talking about synergy, a lot of people were looking at this and thinking, this looks like a lifeline. It looks like SpaceX's cash flow was the only thing that could keep xAI's engine from sputtering out.
Okay, but let's look at the other side of the coin. To really understand the argument for this merger, the bull case, you have to get inside Elon Musk's grand vision. Because in his mind, it's not just about saving a company. It's about building something the world has never seen before.
And this quote from Musk really gets to the heart of his thinking. He said, global electricity demand for AI simply cannot be met with terrestrial solutions. He's basically arguing that the kind of AI we're building is so power-hungry that our planet's grids literally can't handle it. The solution, he thinks, isn't on Earth at all.
And this is where the plan gets really wild. Step 1, you build data centers in space, a massive constellation, maybe up to 1 million satellites. Step 2, you power them with the sun. Put them in a sun-synchronous orbit so they get constant energy, completely bypassing Earth's limitations. And then, step 3, and this is the real business genius of it all, these satellites have a shelf life. They need to be replaced every 5 years or so. And what does that do? It creates this perpetual, self-sustaining demand for SpaceX's own rockets. It's a perfect closed-loop system.
Now, there's actually a name for this kind of strategy. It's called vertical integration. And the idea is pretty simple. You control every single piece of your supply chain. So you're not just using xAI to build the AI models, the software. You're also using SpaceX to build the rockets and the satellites, the actual physical hardware that the AI runs on. You own the whole stack, from the dirt to orbit.
So what's the end game for all this orbital power? Well, meet Project MacroHard. And yeah, the name is a pretty obvious jab at Microsoft, but the ambition behind it is deadly serious. The goal here is to build an entire software company that's operated almost entirely by AI agents. They'd handle everything from writing code to management. They're so committed, they've apparently painted the name on the roof of their Memphis data center in letters big enough to be seen from space. That's a statement.
Okay, so that's the grand vision. That, as we all know, for every grand vision, there's usually a pretty harsh reality. And literally just days after this trillion-dollar merger was finalized, some really deep cracks started to show up in the foundation. I mean, just look at this number. 6 out of the 12 original co-founders of xAI are gone. They've left the company. That's half of the founding team. This isn't just a couple of people moving on. This is a full-blown exodus of the company's core DNA.
And you have to see how fast this all went down. The merger closes on February 2nd. Just 8 days later, 2 of their absolute top research leaders, Jimmy Ball and Tony Wu, resign. The very next day, Musk announces this huge corporate reorganization. The timing? Well, it tells you pretty much everything you need to know.
Now, to really get the scale of this loss, you have to understand who these people are. We're talking about Jimmy Ba, who co-created the atom optimizer and layer normalization. Look, these aren't just some niche tools. They are the fundamental building blocks used in practically every single modern AI transformer out there. And Tony Wu? He helped build an AI that could solve math problems at an international Olympiad level. This is like a car company losing the engineers who invented the internal combustion engine and the automatic transmission. It's an irreplaceable loss.
So, why did they all leave? Well, a lot of signs point to a massive culture clash. Think about it. xAI was your classic Silicon Valley AI lab. Move fast and break things. Flat hierarchy, chaotic, innovative stuff. SpaceX, on the other hand, is a hardcore engineering firm. When you're literally launching people and billion-dollar satellites into space, everything has to be structured, top-down, and mission-critical. There's no room for error. Mashing those two cultures together, it was like oil and water. It was bound to create some serious friction.
And it wasn't just culture clashes that the new company inherited. It was a whole portfolio of really serious controversies. You've got the whole Grok issue with the mass creation of non-consensual explicit images, which has triggered regulatory probes all over the world. You have environmental issues in Memphis, with the company operating unpermitted methane gas turbines in predominantly black neighborhoods. And then there's the constant drumbeat of conflicts of interest, with Musk's multiple CEO roles and a new Pentagon contract. All of this, it casts a very, very long shadow over a company that's supposedly gearing up for a massive IPO.
So now that this new titan is on the scene, how does it actually change the game? What does this mean for the rest of the AI industry?
Well, this chart pretty much says it all. The new SpaceX xAI isn't just another player in the game. It absolutely dwarfs the competition. Its valuation is more than OpenAI and Anthropic combined. It has completely redrawn the map of the AI arms race. There's a new titan at the top.
But here's the thing. Being the biggest doesn't automatically make you the best. On one hand, xAI has some incredible advantages, right? They've got that fire hose of real-time data from X, a monster GPU cluster, and now all of SpaceX's cache and infrastructure. But the disadvantages are just as big. You have this catastrophic brain drain we just talked about, mounting pressure from regulators, and the simple fact that their models are still lagging behind their rivals on some really key performance benchmarks.
So, when you put it all together, you have this grand orbital vision on one side and this harsh human reality on the other. You get to the final and maybe the most important question of all.
And this really is the heart of the whole trillion-dollar bet. What Musk is wagering is that owning the physical stuff, the rockets, the satellites, the data centers, is ultimately more important than keeping the genius researchers who actually create the AI in the first place. It's a massive bet on hardware over humans, on infrastructure over ideas. And that leads us to this final kind of haunting question. What happens to all that irreplaceable talent that just walked out the door? Do they just fade away, or do they get together with all that knowledge and experience and end up building the very competition that could sink this entire trillion-dollar bet? That's the question that will decide if this gamble pays off or if it was placed on the wrong side of history.